Similar to our sub-steps that we talked about before, if we click on our cloth, you'll notice it says quality steps up here. Right now we're at about 5. The higher this value is, the more detailed and accurate your simulation will be. I'm just going to keep that at 5. Sometimes when you put that too high, it really slows Blender down. The next setting that's really interesting to play around with is our vertex mass. And this is basically going to be the mass of each vertex on our cloth material. Now, if I click here, it says 0.1 kilograms, which is pretty light. So if we go ahead and play this back, you'll notice we have a lot of wrinkles and it doesn't really look that natural. But if we bring this up to something more like 1 and we play this back, you'll notice it looks a little bit more natural. There's still some interesting things that we need to fix about this simulation, but you can see that it falls quite heavily because it is heavier. And if we raise this up to 10 and we go ahead and play this back, you can see that it almost falls down to the floor and is almost dragged down by an intense force. So be careful with this value. You might want to set it to something like 2 or 1 just to experiment with and see what works best for you. I think 1 looks pretty good. I'll keep it at 2 for right now. So I'm not going to go over what cache is again, because you guys should already know that by now. Cache basically is going to have our memory stored for us, and you're going to want to use that a lot when it comes to cloth simulations because you're going to need it, I promise you. Cloth simulations are very complex and they can really slow down your computer, so you're definitely going to want to bake your simulations. One super important setting down here right near cache is called collisions. Now, we already know what collisions are, but there's a little checkbox here that says self collisions. We're going to go ahead and enable that. And that's going to allow the cloth to basically not intersect with itself. In fact, I wish I had an example in front of me, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the difference. So here's with it unchecked. You'll notice that, see how the cloth can intersect with itself and overlap? We don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. We're going to go back. Now this is going to take a little bit longer to load, but notice how the cloth can now not intersect with itself. In fact, there's no intersections at all because now the cloth is going to actually collide with itself. It can't overlap and look unnatural. So if you want something to look realistic and natural, make sure you have that setting enabled. Now, because this is a beginner's course, I'm not going to go over every single setting within our ClothPhysics. I went over the ones that I think are most important to me, and to be honest, I believe that the default settings are fantastic. But some of your more important settings include tension, compression, shear, bending, and then you can see we have all of our damping factors down here. I won't be going over these, but I will tell you that they're very important to how the cloth actually interacts with another object. Again, I think this looks fantastic, so we're going to move forward so that I can cover it as much as possible in this introduction course. I encourage you guys to play around with these different settings because you're going to get some drastically different results depending on what you do. But remember, within your collision menu down here, please enable self collisions. I promise you it will look a lot better if you do that. One final thing that I wanted to note before I tell you guys about the project for this chapter, notice how we're getting some weird clipping issues right here. This is actually the monkey showing through our cloth right here. We don't want that at all, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. With our monkey selected, you'll notice that we have our collision values right here. On the right-hand side, you'll see under soft body and cloth, there's something that says thickness outer. This is basically the collision margin that we talked about during our rigid body chapter. This right here is going to be the actual layer that the cloth interacts with outside of the monkey. So right now we're at 0.02. I'm going to set that to 0.1, and let's go ahead and back this up and let's try it again. And I'm not seeing that poke through anymore, which is great. That means that our thickness of the outer shell is now much better suited to our actual physics animation. Just be careful, because if that value is set too high, you'll notice there's quite a gap here. So you may want to even lower it just a little bit more, maybe 0.08. Let's go ahead and play this back and see where the collision lies now. That's a little bit better. The closer it is, the better, but you definitely don't want your object underneath to poke through your cloth because it'll completely break the illusion of that cloth falling over an object. All right?